Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, this meeting is now being live streamed.
Thank you, and welcome everybody to our council meeting for Wednesday, September the 9th, first day after summer. Electronic meeting pursuant to the section 238, 3.3 of the Municipal Act. Also due to efforts to contain the spread of COVID-19 and to protect all individuals, city facilities will not be open to the public or to attend council and committee meetings until further notice. Public comments, I think we all know that you have to have, we want to contact the clerk's office, 12th hour of the day before the meeting. Public forum, any person who wishes to speak in the public forum and not on agenda can do that. Once again, you have to report to council and clerks, and you will be allowed to speak. In fact, today we do have a member from the public forum. Our electronic delegations, same thing. They appear to be electronic delegation by video. We do have a couple of people of those, and they have to be respond to the clerk's office so they can be put onto the agenda. So that's where we are today under the rules and everything at this point in time. So it is now time to call the meeting to order, and would you everyone stand for the national anthem, please? Thank you. Our next item is public forum. And we have Nadia Pelosi from 163 Dovetail Drive wanting to speak to us about parking on residential streets. Is Ms. Pelosi available?
Ms. Pelosi, could you unmute your phone, please? Ms. Pelosi, are you there?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me now?
We can. You go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Well, good morning, Mr. Mayor and members of council. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to bring my concern to your attention regarding parking restrictions on our streets and in our neighborhoods. On May 20th, 2003, bylaw number 84-03 was passed by council. My understanding is that this bylaw was created due to the residents' concerns about the appearance of front yard parking and the potential decrease in property value. As a homeowner, I can relate to these concerns, but a lot has changed in 17 years since this bylaw was created. And as a homeowner, I can say that this bylaw doesn't make sense anymore. Over the past 17 years, developers are building more and more homes on smaller lots with barely any front yards, single driveways and sidewalks. I'm here to suggest amending the bylaw to better suit the dynamic of the new families that are moving into Richmond Hill and the residents who have been here for the last 17 years or more and now have grown children with multiple vehicles. As I drive around my neighborhood, I notice that more and more people are trying to come up with ways to park their vehicles without getting a ticket. More households have multiple cars and nowhere to park. There's no options. I complained quite a few times to Mr. Greg Barrows and the parking department, only to be met with numerous parking tickets afterwards, to the point of me feeling a little targeted for complaining in the first place. I'll be honest with you, I'm stressed about coming forward in fear of being targeted in the future. In an email dated September 20th, 2018 from Mr. Barrows, he said that he would be bringing up the issue of parking in the next council meeting. I don't know if this ever happened. I never followed up. But it's 2 years later, and the only thing that I noticed on the City of Richmond Hill website is the number of parking permits for purchase has changed from 25 to 50. So we're only able to purchase 50 permits per year per household. This doesn't work for people like me that would require a permit year round. Even if we were able to purchase 365 permits at $5 a day, it would cost $1,825 plus tax, which is out of reach for most people, including myself. We have 5 children living in our house. As of this summer, we now have 4 cars because the oldest 2 are working and need vehicles. I've called the bylaw office to inquire about widening the driveway, and that was a no because of the restrictions. I have left letters on my neighbors' front doors begging to rent their driveway space if they have room, so far with no success. I don't have any other options other than to kick my kids out because moving is not an option for us financially. COVID-19 has taken a toll on us. That's my reality, and probably a reality for others in our neighborhood as their children grow or the family dynamic changes and financially cannot afford to move right now. There must be something that we as a community can do to resolve these issues. During the pandemic, the parking restrictions were suspended. So why can't we make a change, not because of COVID-19, but because our residents need it? The City of Toronto is a good example of how they work with their residents for on-street parking, front yard parking, and boulevard parking. They offer permits to the residents that you can purchase that are structured to suit their needs. If a large congested city like Toronto that has a population of over 6 million people can come up with a solution, then I firmly believe that our city with a population of approximately 162,000 can certainly come up with the plan as well. I thank you all for allowing me to voice my thoughts and concerns regarding the parking situations on our streets and neighborhood. And I hope that council will make some changes sooner rather than later. Please help me and others with some options and solutions regarding vehicle parking. And as a final note, I would just like to say that if there's anything that I could do, helping council or doing anything that can better the situation or help with the situation, I'm more than willing to be a part of whatever team you need to put together in order to get this to work. And that's pretty much all I've got for today.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Palazzi, and thank you for the comments. Certainly at this point in time, we don't deal with those issues at this time, but I think we have enough information here from our staff and from members of council that we can certainly be back in touch with you. So thank you very much.
Okay. Is there a timeline at all that I can look forward to or no?
I don't know because this is the first time that we've heard of it. So I don't know that we can be back in touch very soon, but I mean like this week kind of thing. So I can't.
No, I'm
That's fine. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and again, thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Councilor Barrows, yes.
It appears to be too late because she's disconnected, but for those that are watching and for my colleagues, as you know, we've always tried to balance out the rights of people who need to park and people who want to have a clean street. And in this particular street right now, I've got more complaints than I've got people demanding to park on the street. I've got people saying that their street is full of cars. They're not knowing if they're from residents parking there or if they're from people parking at the skateboard park. So for Ms. Paluzzi, if she happens to be listening online still, we're well aware of the problem. And I've always been an advocate to try to find alternatives for people to park, and I'll continue to work with residents. but it is a very difficult balancing act because not everyone wants to have their streets with paid permit parking. But I'm sure we'll find a balance. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All right, council announcements. Any announcements other than we're back? Yes, Councilor Farley.
Well, Mr. Mayor, thank you and welcome back, everyone. I hope you all had a wonderful summer. I know we didn't travel far. I normally don't make announcements, Mr. Mayor, but today is a special day. Today is my mother-in-law's 80th birthday, and I just wanted to publicly say happy birthday from all of us to her, because it's an important milestone, 80 years, and she did give me my wonderful wife, and I think that's a very special thing as well. Happy birthday to Lena. Thank you.
She'll enjoy that. Any other members of council for?
Yes, please.
Yes, go ahead, Council Munch.
Good day. Happy everybody. We all know we're all celebrating or engaging in COVID, but this month also is September is Cancer Month, and on September the 20th is the Terry Fox virtual run. I've participated in it for over 35 years, and I hope that all of us can remember to give generously and remember for those that gave sacrifice and work for those that can't help themselves. Several of us on council I know have been affected by those that have had cancer or know of people who have had. So I say it to everybody on council, and I hope to others, that we remember to give generously and be focused on those that need assistance, and the type of donations that people give and the type of effort that we put together really does make a difference. And we have to double our efforts in this time because it's hard to outreach to people. So that's my announcement. I hope you're doing well, and welcome everybody back. Thanks. And by the way, I want to give a belated happy birthday to everybody who we missed, specifically this last week. I forgot to wish Councilor Pirelli a very happy birthday. So I just wanted to make a note of that. So happy birthday. I'm sorry I missed you there, Carmine. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom.
Very good. Thank you. Any others at this point in time? Councilor Chan.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I have something not as good news to share. A resident in Ward 6, Deborah Trout, who's the wife of many of us know, Sia Slang, a former member of parliament in Ward 6 in the city of Richmond Hill. Deborah passed away on September 1st. She has been very active on a number of fronts, including in our Richmond Hill Garden and Horticulture Society, environmental issues. And I know many of my colleagues and staff actually know her over the years. And I just want to publicly share that information, sad news with members of council, public in the community. And for those who are interested, CS has informed me visitation will be at Chapel Ridge tomorrow in the afternoon and in the evening. And just want to wish Deb rest in peace, and also condolences from my end for the people in Ward 6 and anybody who know CS and Deb. Our deepest condolences.
Sure.
Very true. Very true. Is there any other at this time? Seeing none. Introduction of emergency time sensitive matters to be brought in. Seeing none, Mr. Clerk. Adoption of the agenda. And our agenda is, as we have it here, public forum we've had. We've got 20 agenda items, the one presentation, which comes from the city manager, Ms. Dempster. We have 2 delegations, and we have another business, but it's actually a member motion at that time, and 2 bylaws. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda, please? Councilor Selovitz, seconded by Councilor Chan. Any comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right, let us move along. Any disclosures of itinerary. Geez, turn the page over and I can't speak. Interest in general nature thereof, members of council. Seeing none. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 council meetings, previous council meetings, and I would like to move the adoption of those 5 in one motion, if I may. Could I have a mover and a seconder for those council meetings that took place between July 8th and August 17th? Councillor Barros and Councillor Sullivan's. Any other comments on those? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, carried. Thank you. Identification of our items requiring separate discussion here. We do have 2 delegations and we do have the member motion. Is there any other items that members of council would like to bring forward? Councillor Liu. Oh, sorry, can't hear you.
Sorry, 13.10, please. Prince Sophia Court.
Yes, 13.
Thank you.
Councillor Farley.
13.2.1, Mr. Mayor.
Where's that one?
Heritage Richmond Hill extract, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, I see. 13.1, yes. Heritage
13.2.
meeting.
13.2.
13.
Extract, okay, thank you, sorry, I'm new to this.
What? What is?
Okay, anybody else? Bring out any other matters for discussion? Okay, then we have 13.2, 13.10, 13.6, 13.7, and the member motion are all to be held. All others are to be moved and seconded. Once again, can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Chan, Councillor Silovitz. Everybody okay? Let the ones they wanted. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thank you. Public hearings. We go right to presentation. We have a presentation by Marianne Dempster, our city manager, regarding an update for the resumption of city services. Dempster, we do have
Thank you.
document. Thank you.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Mayor, members of council, good morning. In May, I presented a framework to council which outlines the approach of gradual reopening. Our priority all along has been on public and staff safety. In previous presentations, I outlined the measures we took to close community centers and park amenities, support local businesses, and help to reduce the financial impact of COVID-19 on residents. I want to recognize the strong leadership of the executive leadership team and their respective management teams through these challenging times. I applaud our staff for their efforts to focus on the safety of our neighborhoods and public spaces. Our EOC task force continues to meet regularly and keep staff and council informed. It is also critical to get the day-to-day tasks complete. We continue to process development applications, take calls through Access Richmond Hill, process tax and water bill payments, maintain our roads and parks, support waste collection, conduct building inspections, reinforce community standards, and literally fight fires. I am equally proud of those staff who support the organization through communications, human resources, strategy, IT, and finance. They have worked incredible hours to keep our community safe, to make sure we are equipped with the tools we need to do our work, to communicate with our residents and businesses, respond to inquiries, and keep the work of our organization going. When I delivered the presentation in May, we were well into the mobilization phase. I'm pleased to inform you that we are moving through phases 2 and 3 now. In today's presentation, I will provide an update on our business activity over the past number of months, describe how we are fast-tracking innovation, and how we plan to move further towards Thrive. Next slide, please. Our municipal buildings, including community centers and arenas, remain largely closed to the public. As we continue to take measures to ensure the safety of staff and the public, and where provincial and York Region guidelines permit, we are beginning to open services to the community. At the main municipal office at East Beaver Creek, we are in the process of transitioning all in-person services to the ground floor. This will reduce unnecessary traffic throughout the building and streamline processes. We are also taking measures to ensure that staff who are in the office have a safe place to work. Physical distancing signage are placed throughout our buildings. Shields are installed where staff and the public interact. A face covering and enclosed public spaces policy for staff was implemented, and we are restricting the number of people in elevators, meeting rooms, and lunch rooms. Where possible, we are continuing remote work arrangements across the city. In August, 615 staff connected to our network remotely. We are also taking advantage of online meeting tools such as Zoom. From the beginning of April to the end of August, city staff have participated in over 3,867 Zoom meetings. As a community, we are helping to stop the spread of COVID-19, and we need to continue these efforts. This is why we are recommending that municipal facilities remain closed to the public with a few exceptions until January 4th, 2021. Next slide, please. While we focus on health and safety, we are also concentrating efforts on service excellence. Our economic development support is continuing through the council-approved Recover Richmond Hill Action Plan. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we have provided 550 consultations with the local business community. We have helped 70 Richmond Hill businesses, develop websites, and we launched a small business recovery grant program to assist local businesses to respond to the economic impacts of COVID-19. Our summer company program was particularly successful this year with the 7 student participants, each earning on average $10,000 this summer. Most of our Access Richmond Hill team continues to work remotely. Year over year, our call volumes have increased slightly. From January to August 2019, we handled just over 52,000 calls. And for the same period this year, we handled just under 54,000. And we are meeting our speed of service standard with 80% of calls handled within the first 30 seconds. The majority of calls continue to be related to tax and water billing, general questions about city services and program resumption, waste management, parks and roads. We have seen the number of COVID-specific calls reduce slowly overall. For example, for the time period August 17th to the 21st, we handled 2,013 calls, of which 59 were COVID related. In addition to phone inquiries, the number of email inquiries has increased from January to August. From January to August 2019, we had just over 9,500 500 emails, inquiries, and for the same period this year, just under 11,000. That's a 12% increase over the year prior. Next slide, please. Communications efforts. I'm pleased to report that our communication efforts and yours to encourage those who can pay to pay their property tax bills to do so. We have collected 90% of our property tax to date. Our water collections have slightly decreased, but we are well positioned to maintain our services. Our cash flows are healthy, and we are confident that we will continue to do so for the rest of the year. So I want to recognize Council and Communications for the efforts in this area, because this was a risk that Council took to offer the extension to the end of the year and waive penalties and interest. And for those who could pay, did, and it's been successful, and we've been able to maintain services. So thank you for your efforts in this area. Next slide, please. In our Planning and Regulatory Service Department, from June to August, the year-over-year figures show that the total number of permits, inquiries, and applications has been relatively consistent overall. While there is a decrease in the number of inspections, the amount of time to complete each inspection has increased significantly. In some instances, our inspectors are required to go to the same site multiple times if COVID protocols are not in place. Of special note, the summer months saw a considerable increase in development applications, with a 32% increase in development applications from June to August compared to the same period last year. Next slide, please. What's open? As we move through our phased approach, at the end of July, we were able to open our parks, introduced a free drive-in concert series, opened the Oak Ridges Community Center weight room and the Centennial Pool for lane and leisure swims. All decisions to open parks and facilities are made only after very careful consideration and implementation of health and safety measures and protocols. For the fitness studio, for example, workout times must be pre-booked online. This is similar with our lane and leisure swims at Centennial Pool. Swim times are pre-booked and they are limited to 45 minutes. Beginning September 14th at the Oak Ridges Community Center, recreational swimming, drop-in activities, fitness classes, and meeting spaces will be offered. At the Ed Sack Field and Tom Graham Arenas are open, and on September 21st, Ed Sack Field Fitness and the walking track will be open. Towards the end of September, beginning of October, we are planning on opening Bond Lake, Elvis Stoyko, and Elgin Barrows arenas. We are also in the planning stage to open additional pools at Ridgevale, Bayview Hill, and Elgin West. Next slide, please. On August 23rd, we resumed blue and green bin purchases and exchanges at the Operations Center. We are also accepting marriage license applications by appointment. And last week, we resumed our AMPS hearing reviews for parking and bylaw, penalty notices, as well as dangerous dog hearings. Next slide, please. In addition to resuming services where it is safe to do so, we also introduced new programs and completed construction on a number of projects. For example, we introduced paid parking at Lake Wilcox. I'm pleased to report that we saw over $197,000 in gross revenue for the first 6 weeks of operation. Next slide. We also completed a number of construction projects, including the splash pad at David Hamilton Park and the boardwalk at Lake Wilcox Park. Next slide. The road ahead. Like many organizations, COVID-19 brought about changes to the way we work and how we provide services. It is also an opportunity to be innovative, to streamline processes and move to online services where possible. For example, this summer we launched an online portal for submitting residential building permit applications. We are also planning for the future by examining our financial position. We are expecting $4.1 million in phase 1 federal provincial safe restart agreement funding, and we will be looking at opportunities to apply for additional funding in October when the phase 2 intake is expected to open. Our treasurer will have more on this at the October 6th Budget Committee of the Whole. We are developing a council strategic plan that focuses on the next 2 years, and we are focusing our efforts on community building with specific attention on the Young Subway extension, plans for the Richmond Hill Center, and future growth. With representation from 4 levels of government, our Recover Richmond Hill Action Plan is well underway, and we will continue to report out on its progress. We feel that so far we have been very successful, and this was a great opportunity for our levels of government in the community to come together to help build our economic development. And we will continue to focus our efforts on exceptional service delivery and find innovative ways to provide services in a way that is safe for staff and the community. Next slide, please. I'll conclude with one recommendation, which I noted earlier. We have demonstrated our ability to continue to deliver services in a remote work environment and are positioned to do so. This approach is also aligned with York Region and other municipalities. As such, we are seeking council's approval to keep municipal buildings closed to the public with a few exceptions, until January 4th at the earliest. This concludes my presentation. I open it up to questions. I also have the commissioners online to answer any specific questions related to their area or amenities. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. As this has a recommendation, I would like to make sure that we put that on the table. Mover and seconder, may I use Councillor West and Councillor Chan as the recovery group team? If I may do that. In which order, gentlemen, those in that organization? Just tell me who.
Councillor Chan was the chair, so why don't you
Thank you.
get him to move it? I'll second it, but I would like to speak at the appropriate moment.
No, that's fine. Fair
Thank
enough.
you. So I gracefully accepted that.
Okay. All right. Questions, comments, whatever. Councillor West, I see your hand. You said it. Any other?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the presentation, Ms. Dempster. That's, you know, there's a lot of work in there. And, you know, I've talked to you and the commissioners on a number of occasions throughout this time. And it really is, I do want to extend my thanks and gratitude on behalf of residents of Richmond Hill for all the work that's being done. I think, you know, as this pandemic has progressed, there has rightfully been a great deal of thanks and gratitude that have gone out to emergency workers and frontline health staff. And that's absolutely the right thing to do, because those guys are right in the thick of it and so on. But I would also like to suggest that, you know, it really is important for us to recognize all the staff that work in municipalities in Richmond Hill and others as well. You know, they're literally keeping, you know, the roads in good shape, the parks in good shape, you know, essentially keeping the lights on, so to speak. And it is hard work for them as well. And I know our staff is working very hard to make sure that we're serving our community in the way that we should be. And I am very thankful for that. I'm happy to endorse the recommendation. Well, actually, I'm not happy to endorse the recommendation to have our facilities closed until January, because I think it is a very sad state. But unfortunately, given the reality that we're living under, I think there's really no other right answer to that. So I do appreciate the fact that we're reopening the facilities, and I think we need to continue to do that. But given the fact that we are kind of expecting an uptick in infection numbers over the fall season, and we're actually starting perhaps to see some of evidence of that beginning, I would continue to encourage you to you know, do everything you can to err on the side of caution, because I really think that is what we need right now. So anyway, thank you very much, and I'm happy to second that, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Chan, sorry, I skipped over your.
It's okay. Well, we're just coming back after summer. I want to echo the speaker before me, Councillor West, to Mary Ann and the team. This has been a difficult time. We all have that commitment to serve the public. At the same time, we have to deal with the really pandemic health situation for ourselves, for our family, loved ones, and so on. So I understand the really big challenge. And I too, initially, I was thinking that my first reaction is that we should reopen our facility as soon as is possible. But the challenge is how soon. As what we found out as the premier of the province, you know, now is taking a pause, because at the end of the day, is what the public health situation, whether it's improving or not. So I have to say, I have misgivings that will reluctantly, so to speak, but understand why we are continue to close the facility. But I think that in hearing my colleagues' comments, in the end, whatever decision we decided, when we roll out, I think it's very important on our communication to show to the public why council, in the end, and making the decision we make. Not because we just want to stay home and not do things. We, in fact, are actually doing things for the safety of not only our staff, but for members of public. But also, as our CEO, city managers just announced or presented, there are a number of facilities open. We should stress that as well. For the particular recreational aspects, to the extent it's safe to do so. So we've been accommodating. Now, one of the things is that maybe without going without saying, in endorsing in the end of this recommendation, I believe council should be always be open to the city manager and staff come back. If it can be open sooner, then we should consider that. But of course, the public health situation is primary prevailing thing. So thank you for all the work. And I'm so glad, particularly with Recovery Richmond Hill Task Force, which I have the honor and privilege to serve along with my colleagues, Councillor Munch, Councillor West. I think we are going to do something wonderfully with the Innovation Center, with micro grants and so on. So keep it up. But I think communication, particularly at this point in time, is the key, because it not to manage, but just to be clear on the expectation, what we can do for the public. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you. We have Councillor Silovitz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thank you very much to City Manager Dempster for that presentation. I echo my previous colleagues. I truly want to extend my public thanks once again to everybody on the Emergency Task Force team and in Public Works and Community Services. They've done such an amazing, amazing job. And everybody who was, repartitioned to go to other areas, especially in community services with the planting of flowers. Everybody's done a wonderful job. So keeping our city looking pretty while, we've all been going through some very, very difficult times. I fully agree with the recommendation taking us to January, as my previous council colleague mentioned. The Ontario government did say yesterday that they're pausing for 4 weeks. And I think that's very, very good idea. It's highly prudent, and we need to do that and see how the next 2-week blocks move forward as schools reopen, universities, and watch the uptick and see where we are. I mean, will we maybe have to move backwards as opposed to forwards? That's a definite possibility. I think everyone is aware we may have to go back to stage 2. Hopefully we won't see a stage 1 lockdown, but we don't know what's coming our way. So we're in good hands with our emergency task force team and liaising with the government and our public health. So again, just thank you. It's a superb job and the residents really, really do appreciate it. There's just one question I'd like to ask to you, Mr. Mayor, to our city manager with regards to the Lois Hansey Aquatic Center. I imagine we're not opening that because it's not possible to sort of social distance our people in there because of the wave and the slides and all of that. So is that the reason why we're keeping Lois Hansey closed at this time? Because a few people have asked me, and that's what I imagine. But if you could just further that discussion, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the councillor, I'd like to ask Commissioner Jocelyn to answer those questions because she's led all of the decision-making with her team on what opens and what stays closed. So Commissioner Jocelyn.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, the wave pool will remain closed because it does have some limitations in the pool space itself. Right now, we cannot offer any of the traditional programs like children's lessons and those types of things due to the inability to respect physical distancing. So it's not a conducive pool for lane swimming, of course, or any of the other features. We're also not permitted to open up things like slides and saunas and all those features that pool actually holds. So we're in a holding pattern, and I've recommended to the city manager that we keep that wave pool closed until at least at the earliest the new year.
January. Thank you very much, Commissioner Jocelyn. Yeah, those are my thoughts as well, and I fully agree with that. I just wanted to make sure I'm giving the right information. Thank you very much.
Okay, Councillor Barros.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When we take a look at our provincial and federal counterparts, their legislatures are open. They are in a hybrid mode, debating in public and debating via technology. So I think that it's important that we have that also. There may be some members of council, given family health concerns, that maybe they don't want to at this point in time be in the council chambers. I think though that we should put that option forward, and I would like to make an amendment to this particular motion that council, starting in October, have the council chambers available for council members to be able to debate in public.
October? I'm sorry, your comment was October?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. That would give us a fair amount of time to move over there. I recognize you're already in the building. I see that the clerk is already in the building, so I think we're good there.
The clerk has a comment based on other uses.
Yeah, if I might, through Mr. Mayor, certainly staff have been working towards hosting hybrid meetings where we would have a variety of scenarios. The technology is not in place yet to do it. And while we are working diligently with our vendors to get it in place, I can't guarantee that we'll be ready for the meeting in October. Council might also recall that we only actually have one meeting scheduled in October as a result of the by-election. So I'm just concerned if we put the October date on that with our technology vendor who is doing this for numerous other municipalities at the same time, we might not be prepared to accommodate council, and I would hate to take the direction and not be able to fulfill it. But I can tell you staff are working towards it at this time to get it in place as soon as possible.
I guess what I would say, Mr. Mayor, in response to that, that's great. That is sounds like that's the ultimate environment for us. However, if I was just to take my laptop right now and go sit at my council bench, and like you are, Mr. Mayor, utilize one microphone, it wouldn't be the ideal option, but we could still maintain being in the room and having each of us on a Zoom screen utilizing a single microphone. So if it provides more comfort to say November, I'm okay either way with one meeting more in this particular environment. So perhaps you could change that date to the November meeting to have that option.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
That's fine. I would think, so you have a motion. Councillor Pirelli, did you wish to comment on that or second it or whatever?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to second this motion. It's apparent that we're trying to get back to a new normal, and it's been expressed by the public in the past that the ultimate way to participate is in person. And in respecting that, I think it's important that we get back into the council chambers, as Councillor Barros has mentioned, so that the public can also be allowed into the council chambers. As we all know, it's very, very rare that we fill our council chambers to anywhere near capacity. And I think it'd be very easy to close off and open up every third chair so that we can maintain social distancing and still accommodate people in person with the option, of course, of calling in via Zoom. So I think it's important, Mr. Mayor. I think it's important that we do it sooner than later. As we all know, our children are back in school now, for those of us that have little ones. And I think it's important that we lead by example by coming to work in the council chambers, still respecting the fact that the building itself may be closed till January 4th for a regular resumption of services, but the council has a duty and an obligation to meet in person if at all possible, and I think it is possible. And I would have preferred October. I would have liked to see it the next council meeting, but I understand the technical difficulties that we might face, so I'm happy to support the motion for November. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No, thank you. And I think one of the issues that is there that we're have been discussing is the actual area of our place is we're 9 people in a row on the front. We're going to have to split ourselves up, every other member of council, perhaps put some in the edge where the media is, or where the staff is, or something, to make sure that we are kept apart in a proper way too.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
These are things that have been discussed and looked at and tried to determine whether something can be done. It's a good point to start working through, but go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, very good point. I think that can be accomplished with a simple plexiglass screen between the members of council. And of course, wearing our masks when we're traveling behind the bench. But while we're sitting, if there's a plexiglass screen about 3 feet by 3 feet, that I think that should suffice to keep us all safe.
Okay, on this matter, Councillor West.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do think it is a good idea for us to get back to live and in-person council meetings. I've said that in the past. I appreciate the comments of the clerk. That's interesting. I wasn't sure of the details, so I appreciate the update. I haven't really given this the myriad of details that go into a decision like this a great deal of thought myself. I will admit, because that is something that I fully trust that staff would be looking at. Can I ask, and I'm not even sure who to direct this to, so perhaps I'll just direct it to our city manager. Are there details of the public accessing a building that is actually closed, having to come up the elevator? And are we going to be able to, in the timeline proposed, ensure that the public is safe and can be comfortable in knowing that we're taking all the necessary precautions to have them appear live and in person in the council chambers? And also, I guess, as a secondary part, some comments have been made about installing plexiglass and so on. I'd like to hear staff's comments about some of the considerations that would need to be put in place to keep staff safe and members of council safe, and as I said at the beginning of my comments, and the public. So can I get an idea of where staff's comments on some of those details?
Mr. Mayor, to the councillor, I can start the response to that, and then I'll turn it over to our clerk, who is looking after this project. We are looking at all of those factors when we're preparing to begin opening the council chambers to the public. There are definitely challenges. 1 person per elevator, that's going to be challenging depending on how many people arrive for the meeting, ensuring that they physical distance. But the clerk is considering all those factors, considering your health and safety. I don't know the answer about whether or not it's sufficient to have plexiglass between the members at the bench. That would be something that the clerk will look into, because we have to ensure that we adhere to the provincial standards, the public health standards, and we are also considering the, I believe it's the CDC recommendations for safety. So I'll turn it over for the specific questions if we're there yet. I'm not sure where we're at, because we've been focusing on the technology for the space. But Mr. Hite, can you answer the question?
Through Mr. Mayor, I can certainly try, and I apologize, Councillor, if I missed anything you said. We are certainly looking at all these factors. As Council's aware, the city's actually been hosting an LPAT hearing. It did in July, and it's resuming right now, that we are actually using to test some of these functions. There have been some challenges. Space is the single biggest challenge that we have. You've commented on the elevators, as Ms. Dempster pointed out, getting people in and out of the building is timely. We've had to tell people to come early, because if you can only have 1 person in the elevator at a time, that takes some time to get up. There are significant space challenges. We haven't, the plexiglass or acrylic solution, we have installed some acrylic and plexiglass in the council chambers, pardon me, where it was practical. Also based on availability, because as council might imagine, actually finding this stuff at this juncture has been very, very tough because everyone's been installing plexiglass or acrylic screens in a variety of places. There's also actually, interestingly enough, the limitations that plexiglass or acrylic screens place on the functioning of the council chamber cameras. So trying to make the physical space work with the technology and adhering to the health and safety guidelines, rules, regulations, et cetera, it is a challenge. I can tell you that the number of people that we can actually fit in the council chambers in the audience is exceedingly small to meet the minimum 2 meters distance. I think they calculated out as maximum like 18 to 20. But that also, then where do you, then there's the issue about how many staff can fit in the various spots. It's a real challenge. That's all I can say. I hope I answered your question.
You did. And so what I'm hearing, I mean, the reason I asked the question is I would like to be able to support this motion or this amendment. But I will have to assume that with all of the challenges that you have in place, and for us to be yet again as a corporation, society, whatever, plunging into the great unknown, that if in fact by the time that this motion is recommending that we do this, we aren't able to ensure the health and safety of all people involved, including the public and staff, that we would obviously pull back and wait until we actually can do it safely. So if that assumption is correct, I'm happy to support the amendment.
All right, so Councillor Chan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I was saying in the outset, talking about the main motion, I would have preferred our facilities open. That's certainly including the council chamber for public access sooner than later. So I support the amendment in principle because that for the same reason I said earlier, I'm hearing that maybe technical challenges and so on. Certainly, I'm sure our able staff and competent staff would be looking at that. So one thing is perhaps when the opportunity comes, Mr. Mayor, assuming this recommendation for amendment is adopted, then actually I'd like to further expand further on the main body of the motion when the opportunity arises to indicate that not only our chambers is going to be reopened sooner than later than January 4th, but in fact, we are already providing limited access to the 225 first floor as one of the presentation slides. I think I don't want the public lose sight. They're actually partially open in addition to council chambers, maybe starting in November. So those are my thoughts, and the opportunity arises after the amendment. I'd like to actually modify the whole motion on its own, on the main motion's wording. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Munch.
Good day. I think the first thing for me is safety. And if we're going to bring into council chambers, I think there has to be social distancing. I see the uptick, I'm sure many of you have, of late. See what's happening in BC, in Vancouver specifically. See what's happening in Calgary. I really think that right now is a time where we really need to be really taking a very focused approach on how we keep that social distancing with ourselves being public officials and getting access to people perhaps more than some. I really believe with staffing and inviting people into the building may not be the direction that we have, maybe contrary to the direction we've been doing so far. So I'm not sure if we should be engaging on this at this time when there's big concern as to what's happening in the fall. And I think, as was pointed out by the clerk, the logistics and to put it all together, and given what's taking place in the committee room with the LPAD hearing, I'm not sure this is the direction we really want to go to. I think the Zoom is working. We all are engaging. There has to be a way in which we can engage in an open forum. So like I said, I love open and transparency, and I'd love more people to be engaged 100%, but safety first. And I think if we are going to do this, then we should be doing a maybe 4 members of council come to the council chambers instead of 9. That would allow for some good distancing to take place and keep safe protocols, maybe doing on a rotating basis or something to that effect. But I believe if we all open up as business as usual, when business is not as usual, given all the ramifications of what could happen with safety. And imagine if something was to happen, if we're all to be quarantined, we'd be back where we are right now. So I'm not really convinced that this is, I love the idea of being open and transparent and being open for business, but I really don't think that putting ourselves in a position when we know we're in a pandemic situation is the way that we should be moving forward at this time. That's my thoughts.
He's finished. Just put my comment in at this time. Yes, I am in room number 1 as the chair of the events here, the meeting. So I'm here and often, and I've been doing this for the last, when we've had meetings. That's not been very many last little while through the summer. But the point there is the fact of me being here with not only the clerk and the staff. There's 3 or 4 changes that have taken place in the last 2 or 3 days. There's another one that we were discussing before. So I'm here for the time it takes to get through the meeting, and then I'm back to my home office and dealing with all of the things that you and I are always dealing with. So my being in here doesn't gives me more opportunity to make sure that we have everything in the right place and we're all in the right, we're dealing with it all properly, and I can see everybody's face and where everybody is and what they want to do. So I'm only here for that time it takes to get through the meeting, and then the rest of my time is sitting in my home office. I have come in here 2 or 3 times to bring up some files back to my office so I could work on them. So it's not a matter of me living here every day. And I do think that there's an issue here, and it will be part of the process as we go as to how we're going to manage it in many of the ways that you've all stated at this point in time. How we're going to make it happen and how we're going to make it work, and what can we do. So those are my comments. I'm sorry, it was Councillor, I saw another hand go by. Yeah, Councillor Sullivan, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few comments. I absolutely support the recommendation made by staff. I fully support that. And as I said before, we'll go to January 4th and see if we have to push it even further along, which most likely we're going to have to do. I'm not, I have reservations about the amendment. I don't think we are there. I believe that our staff are fully capable of knowing what the timelines are. And as far as I'm concerned, those timelines should come from staff. Nobody needs to be rushed here. Yes, we do want to get back into council chambers. We want to have our public back in the council chambers. But as Councillor Munch said, I think we have to err on the side of caution and safety first. And I don't want us to be pushing anything because it can come back to bite us, and that's the last thing we need. So I believe what we are doing right now is quite satisfactory. Our residents also seem to be okay with it. And if we have to continue the Zoom meetings into January, so be it, because we do not know what's coming our way. We do not know what is going to happen with the twin demics, as they're calling it, with flu and coronavirus at the same time. So I believe that the next month, basically the next 4 weeks that the province is paused, that is absolutely the way to go, because I do believe that following that time, we'll know a little bit more where we are. I think it's BC went back down to stage 2, and that may have to happen here as well. So I would like to give staff as much time as they need to redesign our council chambers however it is necessary. If it is a hybrid situation, if you have maybe have members of council on the bench, perhaps moved off to the side, or we have some members of council on the bench and we have a hybrid meeting where other members of council are brought in virtually. So I just don't feel comfortable at this point going with the amendment, because I don't believe that we need to put any pressure on our staff. I think everybody understands where we are, and there are not that many meetings from now until December. We will have some budget meetings as well, strategic policy meetings, but I'm okay with just going with the city manager's recommendation. Those are my comments.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Barros.
As a wrap up to my amendment, Mr. Mayor, it's unfortunate that some members of the council didn't listen to what I said. When I started, I said a hybrid setup. I said some of you might not feel comfortable coming into the chambers, but yet I heard a whole bunch of fear mongering from.
Don't say that, please. Come on.
Point of order. I'd like that
Not a
retracted.
point of order. Excuse me.
I heard a bunch of you, through your speeches, indicate that you didn't listen to what I said. Because had you did, you would have said, yes, Councillor Barros, I agree. A hybrid model, whatever that looks like. Some of us not feeling comfortable coming into chambers, we respect that. So I'm happy to support the motion, because for those of you that want to be in the chambers with a protocol that is safe, as in the provincial and federal legislature buildings, let's go for it. But some of you didn't listen. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the opportunity to wrap up.
Okay, so we have before us, which is an amendment. Do we have, is it? I can just make sure we understand what it is. Yes. Thank you.
Councillor Barros, please let me know if I captured the essence of your amendment there at the lower part of the page.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah. I didn't indicate for a moment that it was business as usual.
Okay, that's fine.
That'd be foolhardy if someone thought that's what they were getting into.
That's fine. We understand that this is the right motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, can I make ask a question before we vote on this, just for clarification?
Yes.
So I actually did ask a question, and I guess I didn't wait for a response, but given now that we're seeing this on the screen, the assumption that we would not be doing this if there was any reason that the staff saw that we would not be adhering to all the best practices and protocols and health guidelines and so on, if we couldn't do that, then we would not be going ahead and doing what this amendment says. Is that not, that is correct, right? Can I have that confirmed, please?
Suggestions.
Through Mr. Mayor, I can comment that the electronic meeting procedures that council adopted and updated at the end of July do provide sufficient means for decisions to be made should health and safety protocols need to be respected, such that hybrid meetings could not take place in a safe fashion. So there are protocols and ways to accomplish what the councillor was asking, as is required.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
All right. Here we are for the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment? Opposed to the amendment?
Recorded vote, please.
Yeah, please. I got people coming and going and in and out.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Voting on the amendment moved by Councillor Barros. Councillor Barros.
Yes.
Mayor Barrow.
No.
Councillor Munch. Councillor Munch, please.
No sound.
No, thank you. No.
Regional Local Councillor DePaula.
Yes.
Sorry, I could not hear you. Regional Local Councillor DePaula.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Chan.
Yes.
Councillor Silovitz,
No?
Councillor West,
Yes.
Regional Local Councillor Pirelli,
Yes.
Councillor Liu.
Yes.
The amendment carries.
Okay, the amended motion. Sorry, Councillor Chan just wanted to do something with the, go ahead, sir. Councillor Chan,
Yes,
amendment.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I indicated earlier, then now that we actually see the wording of the main motion as well as the recently just adopted amendment, I would like to make a modification to the main wording in A, starting with except. I know that it just say few exceptions as determined by city manager, but before that, I would say except access to first floor for in-person service. I think that's important. People should know because few exceptions, people have no idea what that is. but I think it's important to show that except first floor of the municipal office, if you need to spell the address, that's fine, is open for in-person service and other exceptions. But I would open to hearing what our city manager would say. But I want to make it very clear, just because the wording is closed doesn't mean there's no in-person service. In particular, we actually open for in-person service for Access Richmond on the first floor. So on that one, I look forward to hearing our city manager's response to that. My intent is to make it very clear,
He's prepared to
key
answer.
services are open.
Mr. Mayor, I think the councillor is trying to muddle the situation and not be clear in the communication.
Well, let's find out. We'll find out.
Well, my question is not to you with respect, Council Pros, is for city manager. But thank you for trying to help.
Welcome.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor. The reason we put for a few exceptions is because we've begun opening some services. The first floor is not open to the public except by appointment only for things like marriage licenses, development applications. We've made appointments to limit traffic, but the building is closed and there's a protocol to get into the building. So we're not opening our recommendation is not to open the first floor until January, because if you imagine the amount of traffic on a tax due date, we could have our parking lot completely full with a lineup in the middle of winter because we have to physical distance. So we have a lot of barriers to opening from a health and safety perspective that we need to overcome and make sure that it's safe for staff and the public. However, we are open by appointment only for certain services, and we announce those through our communication efforts. It's on our website. That's why we've kept it general in the motion. And we will continue to update our website as we are able to safely open up services for specific things, which is why the first floor, but we specifically did not put the first floor in there because we're not ready to open the first floor yet.
Thank you very much through Mr. Chair to the clarification. I think it's a point is important, and the city manager about communication. I think when we communication the message, have to make it very clear. You can make appointment to get into the building for services. Having said that, I think also now that we have amendment that we have to in the communication, not wanting the risk of one of my colleagues saying that muddling the matter, have to make it very clear with the hybrid meeting for, let's say, from November on, that public access probably would have to go through by appointment as well, I take it. Thank you.
Okay, so we now have the amended motion. All those in favor? Do you want to, okay. All those in favor? As amended.
Can we see it on the screen,
I can
please?
see it. Yeah.
If I might, Mr. Mayor, I heard that Councillor made a second amendment. I did not hear if there was a seconder for that.
What is it? I thought he was,
I thought Councillor Chan was just telling us his opinion.
yeah, that was
He
it.
didn't
There's
actually
no
move an amendment.
change. He was
Thank
saying,
you. So
We're
Thank
just
you. I
going
will
with the
clarify
existing.
that. I will put the main motion back on the screen.
Thank you. There it is. Ask for, I'm going to ask for
Recorded vote.
recorded vote.
Please separate A and B and get a recorded vote.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. You've requested a recorded vote, and Councillor Swilovitz has requested that they separate it. So voting on Clause A of the motion as amended, Mayor Barrow.
I'm sorry. We're separating A and B.
Yes,
We're dealing with what?
A first, Clause A,
Okay.
the first clause.
Point of order.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I ran an amendment. The amendment is now part of the main motion.
Yes, that's what.
If it's someone's intention to try to have a second vote on the amendment, I call that out of order.
Well, that's what threw me
Not
off.
the main motion. I say it is one motion, one vote.
I would agree. So,
Very well. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Voting on the entire main motion as amended, Mayor Barrow.
yes.
Regional Local Councillor DePaula.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Liu.
Yes.
Councillor Swilovitz.
Yes.
Councillor Munch.
Yes.
Regional Local Councillor Pirelli.
Yes.
Councillor West.
Yes.
Councillor Chan.
Yes.
Councillor Barrows.
Yes.
The main motion as amended carries unanimously.
Okay. Thank you all. We now move to our delegations. Mr. Brancato, property owner for land located at Montano Court. And it's item 13. No, I'm sorry. Am I not out of line here too? My heritage one? Yes, sorry, 13.2. I apologize. I was 13.2. Sorry.
We do have one delegation, Mr. Mayor, to speak to item 13.16. So
Okay.
Mr. Brancato is speaking to his correspondence, item 13.16.
Okay, Mr. Mercado, sorry.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Mayor and members of council. Excuse me, my name is Jim Brancato, and thank you for allowing me to speak on my application. Mr. Mayor and members of council, I bought 51 Stockdale Crescent in 2007 and built a bungalow for myself and family. We had hoped to live there forever. Unfortunately, because of the housing market crash of 2008 and 2009, we had to sell our home. But with the legal agreement, we kept the rear land known as the option land. Our intention was to move back to the neighborhood and build our retirement home when Montano Road is extended. The history on the extension of Montano Court started at least 10 years ago. However, the owners of 118 Pemberton Road do not want to participate in the extension. I have personally met the owners and have also offered to pay all application costs and expenses for the construction of a road to extend Montano Court. They will not agree to anything that is offered to them. Therefore, my wife and I are requesting council to lift the 1-foot reserve at the terminus of Montano Court, which will allow me a private driveway to access my property, the option land, in order for me to build a house that will be our retirement home. Only half of the barricade should be removed and be replaced 20 feet to the west. If the city requests, total cost will be our responsibility. We will also legally convey to the city the lands needed to form and extend the future road. Mr. Mayor and members of council, there are numerous houses in Richmond Hill on hammerheads or cul-de-sac, or as we call them, dead-end streets, where the road frontage of a lot at the street line is much less in width than it is at the setback line. In reference to the submitted sketches, number 1 to 8, I will now explain further. Sketch number 1 shows my property, the option land, indicated as lot number 19 and 20, and block B is half of the road allowance. Please note that block B has 30 feet of road frontage on Montano Court. Sketch number 2, a previous 2019 pre-submission proposal was for 2 houses, one on lot 19 and the other on lot 20. This is now obsolete. Sketch number 3, this is my current proposal showing 1 house. This lot is more than half an acre with setbacks conforming to the existing zoning bylaw, and it will not inhibit future infill development. Note the location of the proposed house is in line and it will be compatible with the existing neighborhood houses. Sketch number 4 is the total option land showing the dimensions, and it is over half an acre in size. Sketch number 5 is an example of 14 Bridgeford Street South in Ward number 4. We have an example here of an infill lot with a home built in the middle of the lot and surrounded by neighboring houses. The lot is about half an acre and it's being serviced, and I repeat, serviced by a driveway having only 20 feet frontage. Sketch number 6, number 110 and 115 Highland Lane, also in Ward number 4. And this is an example of 2 lots at the end of a street with only the width of a driveway as the road frontage. In fact, number 115 is exactly what I am proposing on Montano Court. Sketch number 7, 170 Marcy Road in Ward 5. I built this house in the year 2000. The road frontage on the hammerhead was 17 feet wide, with a driveway entrance of only 12 feet wide. Unfortunately, Marcy Road is now extended and we cannot see exactly what I did. Sketch number 8, in accordance with bylaw number 10911, shows...
Okay, wrap it up, please, sir.
Yes, please, 20 seconds, yes. Shows the water and sewers are available and allocated to service my property. And this information was obtained from the adjacent subdivision engineers, Schaefer and Associates Limited. 10 more seconds, please. I emphasize again that I do have road frontage and have provided for you proof that a precedent has already been set through the 3 examples in Ward 4. I am requesting that council make a decision today approving the lifting of the 1-foot reserve. The city of Richmond Hill will benefit immensely by property tax revenues. Thank you very much for listening to me.
No, thank you, sir. You've stated there's not anything we can do at this point in time other than refer it to staff, because, you know, you've been asking for that to be done. So I don't know what else we can do, sir. We do have your information, and I would just take the, as you came in, the correspondence that you brought in and refer it to, I guess, directly to staff and to planning to understand what where you are now and how that they can help you. I think that's all we can do today, quite frankly. Councilor DiPaolo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't think the direction to send this back to staff will be helpful for anyone. Staff have been dealing with this application and this issue for a long time. They have provided an answer. They have told the applicant that there isn't that it's a dangerous precedent to make an exception to what's required for him to have access, and he's simply been told that he's unable to build at this time. I don't think anything different will happen if this is referred back to staff. And now Mr. Brancato is appealing to the council to see if a majority will of council, in light of the circumstances, sees different and is willing to make an exception rather than refer it back to staff. Mr. Mayor, I don't believe an exception can be made in this case. I agree with our staff that it is a precedent that can't be set. You can't compare building situations that were allowed in the 40s or 50s or 60s. The precedent is if this council decides Mr. Brancato can go ahead, then others, and our staff has shown me dozens of examples where others could come to this council and make a similar request, and it would, in my opinion, be harmful for the city to move forward in that basis. So I think the proper action is to deny Mr. Brancato's request.
And just receive his
Yes.
presentation.
Yes.
All right. Seconder for that? Councilor Sullivan's. Okay. Or seconder, are you speaking or no?
Yeah, no, I'll second that. I agree with Councilor DiPaolo. I've had many conversations with Mr. Brancato. Good morning, sir, including text messages way into last night. And I have explained to Mr. Brancato where we stand right now, and that his option on the table would be to submit an application to the planning department for whatever it is that he wants to develop. Until and unless that application is received by the planning department, we can't move forward here. So I agree with Councilor DiPaolo. We should receive Mr. Brancato's material with thanks. And Mr. Brancato, as I discussed with you last night, your best option here is to ensure that you file the appropriate planning documents with our planning department. Thank you.
All right. Seeing no other comment?
Can I say something?
Bob, you've had your time, sir, and you've heard the response of, we're just going to make a motion now that we just received that. You've been given some ideas. So all those in favor of receipt only? Opposed? That carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Brancato. All right, our next item here is the Justin Shen, Dubonnaire Street, regarding boulevard grass cutting exemption. Is Mr. Chen available? Sir?
Yes. Mr. Chen is on. He just needs to unmute. Mr. Chen, are you there?
Dealing with 1317, which is your correspondence.
Mr. Chen?
Oh, yes, sir. Trying to figure out how to use the Zoom. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Chen, we can hear you now.
Okay, but I think I lost the video. Let me, okay. Okay, anyways, okay. So thank you, everybody. Today, allow me to speak in the council meeting. Actually, I didn't prepare for this meeting. I just got an email, said, okay, I can join. So I sent a letter to all of you and regarding it's a small thing actually, just regarding the grass cutting, just adjacent to our property. We are a small townhouse owner at 2 Debonell, 1 Debonell Street. So I know the city of Richmond passed the bylaw says, okay, majority of house owner has to mow the grass adjoining, whatever you call, to their neighborhood, to their property. So, but due to our unique situation, because we are a small townhouse owner with unique pie-shaped land, so the boulevard it's not really adjoining to our property. It's separated beyond the municipal maintained sidewalk. And the area, if you can see my letter after for sketch, it's over 2,000 square feet. Our house is only 19. No, our house is only 1,300 square feet. And we have to do those 1,900 square feet, the grass area around our house. So basically, when city the pass the bylaw, I know the intention to help to cut the cost of maintaining the grass cutting, but you know you have to consider a unique situation like us. We are a townhouse owner and unit. It's not like a single house to have take care of the whole area like the around the house. So it's the second thing is actually we believe once we're working on this large area boulevard, we are not really equipped with the PPE or anything. We are so close to the highway, and we may get hurt by the vehicle, or if we mow the laws, the spinning stone may hit the passing pedestrians. You know, we don't have any insurance. The city staff actually carry the liability insurance, right? So it's not really fair for us to do such a big area. You know, if it's a small area, we could do it. It's just like it's an incredible large area, close to like highway. I talked to the bylaw officer, Tracy, many times, and even she's not sure what is the adjacent, what is the joining mean. And the other thing actually is like, okay, we know there's some other street actually like a Bench Street. It's not all the neighborhood, all the like a house owner, they are on the 4-lane the collectors. So the city is still doing and maintaining the boulevard in that area. And yeah, that's it's. I had an example to the council Dave West. It's like, okay, for example here, it's like for example here, city raised some turtles in front of on the boulevard a few years ago. So city is still feeding the food for the turtle, but suddenly city sent an email to us said, hey Justin, because city out of budget, we cannot raise this turtle anymore. But because you live so close by, you have to raise this turtle every month. You have to feed food for them. It's not fair for us to accept such the majority change of the situation from the existing condition. So that's why we asked the council to grant our exemption to not doing those 2,000 square feet boulevard area beyond the municipal separated sidewalk. It gives us a lot of burden. And there's no any domino effect because we are the townhouse owner. We are not a single detached house owner. So there's no many cases in Richmond Hill, even across Ontario. Those houses belong along the street. They are all single houses. We are townhouse owners. So we are house is part of the monolithic, like the link house with the other residential unit. That's why we think it's not fair for us to do this the boulevard only by the town by the end unit townhouse owner.
1 minute.
Sir?
Sorry, sir. Yeah.
That is you. You're finished?
I think I finished there, but did you guys got my letter?
Yes, we have the letters. That's what's before us here.
Oh yeah. So basically
The correspondence that you sent, and then you asked to speak to it. So that's what you've done. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Councilor West, is this in order to move this somewhere?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Justin, for speaking. And I have actually been speaking to him and his neighbor a number of times over the last few years about this issue. And I will start off by saying I actually am quite sympathetic to his cause. You know, I understand why he feels the way he does, because the piece of land on the boulevard in question that's owned by the city that he's being asked to cut is actually larger than the piece of land that is his yard. And I know that when this bylaw came about, there was a staff presentation that, you know, and we went out to the public and we gathered public opinion and so on. I had significant hesitations to vote in favor of that bylaw because this is the exact kind of thing that I was concerned would happen. However, I also realized at the time and still maintain that, you know, the town and the city going out and cutting all the little boulevards in the area is very cost ineffective. So unfortunately, it is the way I think is the most cost effective way to do it. So while I had reservations with that new way of doing things, I think it's actually the best way to go about it. So I wouldn't be able to support the exemption to the bylaw for those property owners. And I think that the staff has very concisely laid out the reasons why we need to continue doing what we're doing in the staff report that's before council right now. And I won't get into all of the responses to the different concerns that this resident has, because I think they're very well laid out in that staff report. But what I would like to do is I'd like to propose to council a bit of the exploration of a compromise that I actually am, from the research that I've done with some help from staff so far, I think actually might be a solution to this problem. And that is, I think that there are plant species that you can plant on a boulevard like that. Specifically, I've done a bit of research on something called mini clover. And this particular plant is a substitute for lawns, and it doesn't actually grow higher than a few inches tall. So it would likely not be needed to be mowed, or perhaps only needed to be mowed once or maybe 0 times a year. I am not a plant expert, but I think I would like to move an additional number C to the staff recommendations that are contained in the staff report that would ask staff to report back to us on the possibility of planting a species like that on that boulevard. And I would add that it is a species that does have some value to pollinators as opposed to grass, which does not. And I would like it to be considered as a pilot project. I mean, if it ends up not being viable, or if we try it and it ends up not working, well, that's fine. But I actually think that there are uses for plantings like that in other places in the city as well. And I think that I feel fairly confident from what I understand that it would be successful, and it would take root and grow, and it would stop the need for it to be mowed all the time. But I also think the same principle could be applied in various places to stop us from having to mow as much, and we'd be replacing that plant species with a plant that is more environmentally useful to the pollinators and other critters in our environment. So, Mr. Mayor, I think the clerk has the proposed addition to the staff report recommendations, and I'd like to move that now, please.
Okay. Just having a look at that. Is there a seconder, please? We move this forward. Councillor Silovitz, thank you. Okay, any other comments? Prepared to go forward on this? We have a mover. Seconder is Councillor Silovitz.
Question.
Not on the.
Sorry. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councillor Barros.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My only question is, with the October date, I have to admit, I didn't look at my calendar. What's the date of the October meeting? Because that will be when they'd have to report back.
October, 6th or 7th, I think.
Apologize, we're just looking that up, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, it seemed to me that it was fairly early in the month. My only question is that enough time for staff to do that kind of research and get back? Or like the previous motion, should it be November also?
So 9th? We must have it. Was it because of the,
Because of the municipal election.
let's just see.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, the date is
Just gotta
actually,
clarify the date, okay? Just one second.
that is a good point that Councillor Barros is making. I mean, the date, I did not specifically pick the date for any particular reason other than I'd like this to be dealt with sooner rather than later. So it could be November. I would not be averse to accepting that as a friendly amendment if is better for everybody involved.
Okay, appears to be. Go
Through
ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I apologize because there's been a lot of changes in meeting dates. The actual first meeting, there's actually only one meeting in October, and I misspoke earlier. I was under the impression it was early in October. It's actually the 28th of October is our first meeting in October. There is no one in early October. I was unfortunate that I do apologize for that overstatement on my part.
Okay, so Councillor West is saying that's fine. You want to go to October 28th? Councillor West?
Sure, if that's the only date, then that's it by default, I guess.
So. All right, we now have, we get the motion back. That date.
Yeah, I'm just adjusting, Mr.
Yep, no problem. Okay. With that date there, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries unanimously. There we are. Now, let's just make sure we've got. Done. So I'm back to just, these have been add-ons and they sometimes. All right, so we are back to 13.2. So let's
Correct,
call-
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
13.2.1.
Yes, 13.1. Councillor Pirelli on the Heritage.
Mr. Mayor, I apologize. It appears that I got my numbers confused. It was not 13.2 that I was pulling. It was Fifth Avenue, 13.9.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
All right, so we'll get that correct. That's still the next in line here.
Sorry about that.
No, not a problem. Go ahead, sir.
Are we at 13.9 now, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mayor, it appears, and I apologize for not bringing this up earlier, but it appears that the applicant wants to speak about, and I don't see it in the actual staff recommendation, a part lot control exemption bylaw. Apparently, this is needed, Mr. Mayor, in order to facilitate the creation of the units so that they can facilitate closings as soon as October. And I asked the applicant if this was something that could wait till the next meeting. I was just on the line with the planner, Mr. Robert Lavecchia. And he was trying to explain it to me. Maybe, Mr. Mayor, staff could help me and put up that staff recommendation and see where this is contemplated, this part lot control exemption bylaw. And if necessary, Mr. Mayor, maybe we can get Mr. Lavecchia on the line. Apparently they were of the belief that this was taken care of. Maybe I see Commissioner Kwan on the screen. Maybe he can shed some light on the issue.
Okay, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the Deputy Mayor is quite correct. A part lot control exemption is required, and that has been highlighted on the bottom of page 4 of the staff report. So subject to some confirmation from staff, the city has not yet received the requisite part lot control exemption application. So if I would recommend, and sorry, the completion of that process is a condition of the condominium registration. But of course, it's but one of the multiple conditions that are necessary to implement the full approval of the condominium approval. So at this point in time, I can only suggest that staff contact the applicant directly and we sort out the technical details to bring this forward as quickly as possible.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Commissioner. So are you suggesting to me, Mr. Commissioner, that this can be facilitated by staff without needing council's approval and bringing it back to council? Or is this something that needs to come back to council?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, this is still a council approval required, but we will do our best to expedite it in cooperation with the applicant.
Okay, so Mr. Mayor, through you, my understanding is that unless we do this today, there will be closings in October that will not be able to be met. And that means a family will not have a home to go to. Is there a suggestion that the commissioner could give us that would be able to expedite this matter? For example, maybe a condition that as long as you receive the proper application fee, that we direct staff to go ahead and, provide the interim control, the part lot control exemption bylaw. Because I understand, Mr. Mayor, that the staff are in possession of the actual bylaw.
To you, Mr. Mayor, as I say, I don't have that confirmation in front of me, unfortunately, but that is only but one of the conditions of approval necessary to fully condominiumize the project. So any possession by future owners would be subject to the full condominium approval being in place. So typically in those situations, there's a private arrangement between the prospective owners and the developer on a temporary basis to have some sort of rental agreement in place to facilitate the occupancy of the buildings if they're ready for that to happen.
Councillor?
Yeah, exactly, Mr. Mayor. Well said, Mr. Mayor. Okay, so we're not, staff is not in a position today to implement the part lot control exemption bylaw, is what you're saying, Commissioner, and that if necessary, there is a remedy for the applicant via the rental agreement, or if I could suggest a third option, if all of the application documentation is received by staff, could you inform us, Commissioner, so that if necessary, we can have a special council meeting in order to address this issue so as to not inconvenience these people moving into their property? Would that be an option as well, Commissioner? If we can't do it today.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I will confer with staff on the status of the application if it has been received, and I will take the deputy mayor's suggestion, and we will advise council in the interim of the status of the file and inform you when it's ready to be brought forward approval as soon as we can.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate it. I just want to make sure we give every opportunity to the applicant to be able to provide, clear title and occupancy to the residents that are moving in starting in October. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to move the recommendations.
Okay, thank you. Go. Seconder. Councilor Barros. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. Thank you. Our next item is 1310.
Correct, Mr. Mayor.
1310, Urbcon. Councilor Liu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In principle, I have no issue with this application. I welcome this data center on Leslie with my open arms. Just that I have two issues which I would just like to put it on record. I would like to thank staff for reaching out to me a few weeks ago in terms of this application. My main concern is the mural. I mentioned to staff at the meeting that I would like to see the design of the mural to be approved, subject to the approval of either staff or council, because this is a really, to me, is a big mural, and I'm really concerned about the artwork of this mural. So I don't know if I need to make a motion or staff already understood that the artwork has to be subject to the approval of staff or council. So through you, Mr. Mayor, to staff, do I need to mention it in this recommendation, or staff can take care of that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if it's the will of council to want to have your own formal approval of the mural, I would recommend that you add an amendment to the motion to have that portion brought forward through a staff report in the future. I can certainly advise council that staff are in discussions with the applicant at this time as to the design of the mural, and it's certainly an exciting element to the building. But as I say, if council, it's the will of council to want to actually see the final product before staff would approve the site plan application, we can certainly do so. And I would recommend you add that amendment to the motion to have that report brought forward.
Thank you very much. So to the clerk, I would like to add that, that the design of the mural to be subject to council approval. And I'm sure that all council members would like to see that before it comes to a reality. And the second concern I have is the maintenance of this mural. I'm not sure about how long the data center will be there, but through years, the weather, everything, the mural will deteriorate. So to you, through you, Mr. Mayor, to staff, how can we assure that the mural will be in good condition, 10 years down the road?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we would include in the site plan agreement maintenance clauses related to the mural. It's no different than other property standards issues like paint and things of that nature, but we would certainly include that clause in the agreement. And it is under private ownership, so the owner will have to take full responsibility for the upkeep of the mural and his buildings.
Thank you very much. That's great. That's all my questions. And I'm happy to move the recommendation with my addition in terms of the design. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Selovitz. Seconder.
Yeah, I'll second it, no problem. I just wanted to ask one question through you, Mr. Mayor, to Commissioner Kwan. Would this mural be considered public art? I know it's on private property, but it wouldn't be under any, rules and regulations that we have with our public art policy, right? Because it's on private property.
To you, Mr. Mayor, that would be correct.
Okay, I thought so. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Any other comments before we see the actual motion as amended? I guess it's not been as amended, it's been added to. Is that okay, Councilor?
Yes, thank you.
All right. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries unanimously as best I can see. Thank you. Our next item is 14.1, which is the member motion for Councilor Pirelli. And this morning, he and I had a conversation, and I just want to follow up with that on the fact that there appears to be a number of concerns from various parts of the of our city dealing with this matter right at this time, and perhaps be deferred to, I guess, well, now I don't know any dates. So the last date of this, I would say it would be, I'm trying to pick a date before I bring it to yourself, sir. The next.
Mr. Mayor, I can advise that the next council meeting is on the 23rd of September, followed by a council meeting on the 28th of October, and a council meeting on the 11th of November.
All right. So the point was, sorry, Pirelli, I'll just, from the point of view that there was some issues about liability risk in the parking lot at this time, and some things that were not really discussed or put together in a way that they wanted to make sure that we don't get involved in something that we wish not to get involved in through the process of doing that at this time. It's not a matter of what program of the project seems to be fine, but it's just getting there too early based on some of the information that they didn't have in their way. So, Councilor Pirelli, regional local Councilor Pirelli, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I received this request from the property management company, Purcell. Normally, Mr. Mayor, this is not something that I would bring to council to help facilitate people's parking issue on municipal property. This is an unusual situation. Had there not been a plan to have a permanent solution in place, this would not even be discussed here today. But the reality is this, that this condo corporation complex is in need of extra parking. And the property management company has started the process of undertaking to figure out through their respective planner to see if there's an opportunity for them to add parking on their site. Unfortunately, that's not going to take place right away, as we know the process takes some time. That being the case, they've reached out to me and asked if it's possible for them to park at the nearby community center as an interim measure with the ability to pay if necessary. I know this comes as a last minute request. I only received it, less than a week ago. So I appreciate the clerk putting it on the agenda at the very last second. And I understand that staff may need some time to look at the ramifications of this. But I would ask that we have 2 weeks now, Mr. Mayor. I know we had a conversation this morning, but this is an interim measure till January. If we wait till November or December to give them a decision, it kind of defeats the purpose. So in the interest of time sensitivity, Mr. Mayor, I would ask that we refer this back to staff to bring back a report on September 23rd to deal with those concerns of liability and so on and so forth, so that we can have an answer for these people one way or another. That's my motion, sir.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, while we're there, is there a seconder, please? Thank you, Councilor Barros.
So, Mr. Mayor, I have to say, I was prepared to second the original motion as put on the floor. And here's the rationale. When we have residents purchase an on-street parking permit, it also gives them the opportunity to park in their closest community center. In fact, during a snow season, we tell them, we know you have an on-street parking permit you've paid for, but you're not allowed to park on the street. Go park in your local community center. So if enough people in the neighborhood just went and bought on-street parking permits and took their option to park in the community center parking lot, we would actually have cars parking there. We've contemplated that. And in the fact, we've actually told them that's where they have to park. So the reason I was willing to enter into this unusual situation was because that's been our practice in the past, to allow residents with on-street parking permits to park there. I would say if this is an opportunity for us to help residents and they're willing to pay, and I would say in excess of the on-street parking permit, because it's a short period of time, what's the problem? Like, why aren't we moving forward and saying, of course we want to help? Because the problem right now is spilling out into the streets and other residents are being inconvenienced by this. If this was the Oak Ridge's community center, there might be some angst, being that we are in a massive parking crisis right now. But given the community center that we're speaking of, there's not. There's excess parking available. I think it's only financially prudent of us to say, hey, great, we can make some cash for the residents and we can help residents. It's a win-win in my situation. But if the motion is to send it back to staff and wait again, so be it. I mean, I'll go along to get along, but I was willing to accept the first motion. And I don't see why council wouldn't have accepted that and move forward.
Nope, that's fine.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I was going to say there are some things here that our staff hasn't talked to the condo owner yet and dealt with some of the things that they wish to have a conversation on a short-term solution. So that's what they're saying they want to do, and they weren't able to do, as Councillor Pirelli said, it's only been out and about for a little bit of time. So they're just looking for how they can actually discuss, as you just discussed, Councillor Barros. Go ahead, Councillor Pirelli. I'm just trying to explain.
Yeah,
I was given, that's all.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mr. Mayor. Notwithstanding Councillor Barros's comments, it is something that, could possibly go ahead. We could delegate that authority to staff to see it to fruition ASAP. But in all fairness, we want to make sure our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed, that any concerns, and I think it's ample time in the next couple of weeks to bring it back to council so that we can, figure out what the rate is, and what potential liability, any waivers that need to be signed, etc., how many cars we're looking at, and so on and so forth, and make sure that it goes just to a certain time period. So I think it's important that we give it back to staff just to dot those I's and cross those T's. Thank you. And thank you for seconding the motion, Councillor Barros.
All right, thank you. All those, I'm sorry, Councillor Chan, did you?
Thank you. I want to thank the Deputy Mayor, Regional Councillor Pirelli, for bringing that up. And I think another colleague talking about, this is something to look into. I support that in principle, and I appreciate that the mover is also saying, let's make sure that staff come back so we do it right. Because I can see potentially then could be extended to some areas Like in Ward 6, there's always, that issue about parking. So I will support it, and I look forward to perhaps this could be a model, a pilot to be applied elsewhere. Like, we have one councilor talking about Oak Ridges Community Center. In my area, there's also the areas where it's the newly officially opened XFL Arena, David M. Hilton Park, as well as the Landstaff Community Center. So I look forward to report, and I'm happy to support the motion. It also shows that we always think about the residents at heart. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, all those in favor? Is this opposed? Carries unanimously. Thanks. Okay, we're moving Councillor down to bylaws. My due date here. There is no other items that I have on my.
Correct, Mr. Mayor, yet the 2 bylaws, then followed by the confirming bylaw?
Yes, okay. So item 61, 62 are bylaws. Can I have a mover and seconder for those 2 bylaws, please?
Happy to move it.
Chan, Councillor Silovitz, all those in favor? Opposed, carried. Closed session bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council on this meeting. Do same mover and seconder. Is that all right? Go ahead, Councillor Chan, Councillor Silovitz, all those in favor? Opposed, carried. Bylaws confirmed, and a motion to adjourn. Same mover and seconder, if that's all right. Move forward ahead again. Move. Favor, opposed, carried. Thank you.